welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right, welcome back to another episode of Turn Left. I'm Indiana's own Dana Black. Man, the summer's starting to heat up. Well, not really, but it's starting to heat up. And the work that needs to happen is happening now. Right? Because November will be here before we know it. And if we're not reaching out to our neighbors, if we're not organizing around candidates and helping to fundraise for our candidates so that they can get what they need to touch voters, we missing out. So now is the time. Now is the time to make it happen. Get a plan together. If you feel super passionate about something, let's just get it done. You have the opportunity to make it happen. But the best part about all of this is meeting amazing candidates. And that's what we're doing here at Turn Left. We are bringing you the candidates. So today we have on our show Tiffanie Arthur, candidate for House District 63. Tiffanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been in the works for a minute, hasn't it?
Yes, we have been trying. We tried before the primary, but you were just so busy here, there, and everywhere, which is amazing. I love to hear it. We didn't get a chance to get you on, but here we are. And I'm excited because I had a chance to meet you down at a county dinner that I spoke at.
Yes. We met down at the Buy dinner.
Yeah.
And then we've met a few, you've done some trainings for us as 8th District kind of get-togethers that we've done too. I think it was Spencer County or maybe Owen County. Yeah. And down at Du Bois. So
I'm ready to do more trainings. I have a whole
I was at your one in Hamilton.
Yes. Did you like that one?
Yes. It was so good. I told so many people in leadership down here, I was like, we have got to get Dana down here to do one because it is phenomenal.
Well, all we got to do is get it on my calendar. That's all we got to do. And I get to talk about, like, not that I mix what I do at Act Blue with the work that I do here in Indiana, but knowing what I know about Act Blue and how it helps candidates and campaigns, I'm excited. So let's get that on the calendar. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
So I am a small business owner and a mom. I feel like a self-proclaimed community advocate and a candidate for Indiana House District 63. I was born and raised in Daviess County, Indiana, which is one of the reddest counties in the nation. I grew up on my family farm. I did spend some time in California, New Mexico, and Georgia with my mom. But this has kind of always been our family seat. So I've raised my own family here on my husband's family farm. So we have a very, very long history in agriculture in our area. And like most Hoosiers, my story isn't really one of wealth or political connections. I was born to teen parents and experienced my share of struggles growing up and spent the beginning of my adult life as a young single mom trying to build a better future for my family. I was a preschool teacher. I've been a cheer coach for many years and have always tried to volunteer in our communities, either through non-for-profits or for booster clubs, trying to help raise funds so that kids can participate regardless of whether or not they have involved invested adults in their life. And ran a small business. I did a boutique business for about 5 years, and now I work in the beauty industry. So I've always kind of believed that if you want to make a difference, you have to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
So I'm also the chair of our Daviess County Democratic Party.
Yeah, I love county party chairs. I love county. Okay, real quick. Are you familiar with Contest Every Race?
I have heard a little bit about them.
After the show, you and I are going to talk about it. All right, next. Okay. All right, county party chair.
Yes. So fun story about how I ended up as our county party chair in February 2025. After the 2024 election, some little blue dots down here, we were talking and, just feeling really isolated and, frustrated. And you didn't hear a whole lot from our local party at that time. So a friend of mine was like, listen, I saw in the paper that there is a county party coming up this Saturday. Do you want to go with me? And I was like, absolutely. Because I had no idea where they had been for the last couple of years. So my husband was like, why are you going to this meeting? Like, what are you going to do? Because sometimes he doesn't know what I'm going to do. And I told him, I said, well, I'm going because I'm going to tell them that if they're not here to help us navigate the next 4 years of this administration, then they can kick rocks. And so he kind of looked at me and I said, they will either run me out or I will leave running this bitch.
Okay.
And when it was over, I called him and he said, well, how did it go? And I said, I'm running this bitch.
I love that. I love that because you know what? I preach it all the time, right? Everybody can get involved. Anybody can get involved. It's a volunteer organization. Like if you have a skill set and you know you're good at something, bring it to the movement. If you don't see something happening in a way that you think would be beneficial, bring it to the movement. And I'm so proud of you for saying, you know what? Enough is a daggone enough.
Yep. So we had very low turnout at that time. The former people that were our executive team was like, if we had 4 people show up at a meeting, it was a big deal. And it's like, there's 4 people on your executive team. You can't even get all 4 of you here. So now we have probably on average about 30 people show up to our monthly meetings, and we are extremely excited because on July 1st, we are having the grand opening for our headquarters on Main Street.
Okay. Unfortunately, this probably won't drop until after that, but people will know that we talked about it beforehand.
Yeah, we are extremely excited for the growth and the work that we've put into this because it has come a really long way.
Good.
But just like you talked about, that's part of why I decided to run for state representative, because I've heard from so many people that they just don't feel like they have a choice anymore, and they just don't feel like anyone is listening. And so many people on both sides of the aisle, they're hearing, politicians argue over, partisan talking points, but real life people are worried about the cost of their groceries and their health care and their housing, and, whether they're going to have a voice in any of these decisions that are being made. And so I kind of got frustrated and decided that I cannot sit around and wait for the kind of candidate that I feel like we need. I'm going to show up and be the candidate that I think we need.
I love that. Now, here's the question I have for you. You said you were an entrepreneur. You have a business. You're a cheer coach. Now, that's a whole lot of girls.
And I have 3 sisters. So
okay. And you said you were also a young single mom who was born to young people. What was it in your life that made you this go-getter, right? It looks like you ain't sitting around waiting on nobody to tell you that you can do something or can do anything. You just gonna do it. Where did that come from?
I would say part of that would be being raised by a very motivated mom.
Okay.
My parents were seniors in high school when they found out they were pregnant with me. And even though their marriage didn't last, my mom was a full-time student and worked multiple jobs. And I saw that drive in her. And my dad, growing up with a farm family, there's no off season.
Right.
When you farm, even in the slow season, you're trucking, you're working on equipment, you're doing, other jobs and things like that. So I've just really been surrounded my entire life by a culture and by family members that you work. And if you want something, then you show up and you work for it.
I love that. I love that work ethic. And that's the kind of work ethic we need in our party leadership and in our state house. You mentioned that you've spent the bulk of your life in rural Indiana, in farming communities. We see where the tariffs have decimated a lot of our farming communities and farms. We see that the state legislature is trying to pass legislation to say, well, if the land is no good, we can just repurpose it. When you're in your farming community, for those of us who don't exist in that space, because let's be real, that's where the least amount of folks live in Indiana, right? The most people live in urban areas, suburban areas. Tell us what those, not necessarily from a political perspective, but tell us what those conversations are like as you guys are trying to navigate the policies that are literally hurting your communities.
They can be difficult conversations, honestly. In Indiana, the majority of our farms are still family owned. Their bankruptcies are starting to creep up and expand in Indiana. We've had a couple really hard years, and we've had a lot of struggle with the tariffs. The last time that this happened, it took a while to recover, and there was a pretty large bailout that had to happen to keep the agriculture industry going. And then when you look at not just the tariffs hurting things like your soybean, crops, but then you also look at the inputs becoming higher. A ton of fertilizer comes through the Strait of Hormuz and from the Middle East. Fuel is a big one. So there are a lot of things, not just the tariffs that are affecting farmers. In our area, those can be difficult conversations because a lot of people vote for the people who pass the policies that are harming them. And so it's a very delicate conversation sometimes to have. A lot of farmers that we talk to, they want their lands protected, but they're also concerned about zoning because they don't want to be told what they can and can't do with their land. A lot of farmers that might be struggling are looking towards selling ground in our, or to lease to solar. So it's a very delicate conversation sometimes to have because you have to have empathy for them, but you also want to look at them and say, we have to start making different decisions in the ballot box if we want things to change.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So what are some of the more unique ideas that you've heard from farmers as they try to get by?
We are fairly fortunate here in most of the Davies and the District 63, which is Davies County, DuBois County, Martin, and Pike. We are fortunate that a lot of these areas have already started growing what they call like value-added crops. So non-GMO. We have, food grade. We have crops like that with a little bit of added value. We have a lot of local processing here in Southern Indiana that can be used. We have Azteca, we have the Grain Processing Corporation, we have Purdue and Farbest, which are actually poultry producers, but we can, farmers can sell locally to them. So in some senses, this district and this area is set up well to kind of be a little bit more self-sustaining because we do have those corporations here in a local capacity.
So when you think about, you talked about multiple generations owning these family farms. Are you seeing the younger generation like excited about taking over these farms, or are they trying to do something else?
That's also a very interesting conversation. The age of the average farmer in the state of Indiana is in their upper 50s.
Oh,
yes. And so we have to start thinking about how do we make this accessible for young farmers? How do we plan for that, secession of farm communities? Because it is very difficult with the cost of ground. Even though Indiana still has some of the lower acreage prices, it still is a barrier to entry for a lot of people. For a lot of young farmers that want to get started, they have to cash rent their ground.
I don't know what that means. What does cash rent mean?
So that would mean instead of owning the ground that they farm, they would rent it from another landowner.
Got it.
Our farm, we farm about 9,000 acres. we do not own all of that ground. We own a portion and then we rent from other people to produce crops on. And when you have projects like data centers, or you have projects like, solar panels, and you have different things like that coming in, and those grounds get taken, it becomes, because it's much easier for someone who's a landowner who maybe no longer lives here, or, this family ground's been passed down to younger people, younger generations, that they don't want to mess with farming it or renting it out. So it's much easier to put it under contract for a project like that. And that limits how much those young farmers can enter by renting that ground. So that, and I mean, the cost of equipment, those input costs. And then you also look at, when you're a self-employed farmer, there's not a whole lot of safety nets when it comes to things like health insurance, or, my husband and I were both self-employed. We pay a lot for insurance.
Wow.
And so all of these are barriers to getting more young people. They try. And I know that there are a lot of farmers in the districts down here in District 63 that really are trying to be proactive in getting younger farmers and giving them some access. If they have ground, they make a commitment. We're going to rent this to someone who's younger. We're going to try and help mentor. I know my husband's family farm, it's the fourth generation is starting to get involved.
Okay.
But it's, it's one right now.
Right.
It's one person. And
it takes more than that.
It absolutely does. So,
and I'm going to ask you something, because I don't know, and then we're going to move on. But this is I'm learning stuff, so please forgive me if you're like, dang, Dana, we still stuck on this. So to work the land, it takes labor, right? So even if you're the farmer, the owner, or the renter, where do you get your labor from?
So most farms, with 9,000 acres, we are sizable, I have no concept of what an acre is. I will be honest, even having lived on a farm pretty much my entire life. But we do have employees that work with us full time. We also have seasonal help that will come because you are running, combines in the fall, and then you have a grain cart that will come, and then you're loading trucks, and then the trucks are taking it to the farm to dump, to put in the grain legs. And so it takes a lot of hands on deck during your really busy seasons of planting and harvest. But we do have a couple full-time employees, and then we do have a lot of seasonal help. And you will see a lot of people who maybe can't get into farming on their own, that they will be full-time farm help and employees.
I love that. So you mentioned something that we probably should talk about, right? And that's you said you and your husband pay a lot in insurance, and healthcare as a whole is a big issue that folks are talking about. Does your district have healthcare deserts?
So we actually, here in Daviess County, we have one hospital, Daviess Community Hospital, which is very high on that list of potential closures with the changes to Medicare and Medicaid. We have seen 2 of our rural clinics associated with them close just in the last couple months. We have lost our oncology department. They have cut residuals on our weekend and night staff for nurses. There's a lot being cut back. And if you talk to a lot of people, they'll say, no, everything's fine. We're not going to lose the hospital. But there are some very serious concerns about whether or not that hospital will remain open in Daviess County. Martin County has no hospital. Pike County has no hospital.
Wait, Martin and Pike counties have 0 hospitals?
No, they have no hospitals. Yeah, they do have clinics, but they do have some clinics, but there is no hospital. DuBois County does have Jasper Memorial Hospital, which is large and doing well. But even now, even though it seems to be doing well, there are a lot of changes happening with a lot of the changes to our healthcare system. So there are definite concerns.
So if you are in Pike county and you have an emergent situation, what do you do?
You're going to hope that you can get to Davies Community Hospital or to Jasper in a timely fashion. From Washington, it would probably be about a 20-minute drive, maybe a little bit longer to Jasper because we do have I-69, but there's not a really great way depending on where you're at in Pike County because these are very rural areas and kind of the same for Martin County. You're either heading to Washington or you are heading to Jasper.
Yep, I've been down there. I've been down. Well, it's a beautiful part of the state. That's the part that's frustrating. Like I see how beautiful the area is. Little too isolated for me because I'm an urbanite, but it's beautiful. So when I drive down and I see the area, I see how great it is. There were some. Okay, we know that we're struggling with the healthcare. Talk about before I go to this other thing. Talk about what your ideas are or what you've heard from your constituents on how you think we can try to like stem the bad that's happening in our healthcare system.
So, I know there's a lot of talk about healthcare coverage, but coverage means nothing if it's an hour to get to receive care. We have to be offering some incentives either through loan forgiveness or, something like this to try and get rural, doctors to come to our rural areas and stay here. We are struggling to keep physicians and get physicians here. We can do that by one, improving our quality of life in our towns, improving the quality of our schools. Doctors don't want to come and raise families in schools that are struggling. And that is a way that we can help. I feel like is try to make sure that we're getting them here on their residencies and then giving them incentives to try and stay here. I think that we need to look at Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. That's a big part of why our local hospital is struggling. And we have to make sure that we are providing the absolute best quality of care that we can instead of treating our local rural hospitals like a Band-Aid station, essentially.
Yeah, that's scary. So one of the things that I saw as I was thinking about when I was driving down, when we met, we was in Davies County, right? I can't.
I was going to say we've been in Du Bois a few times.
That's what it was.
Yep,
Du Bois. Okay. I knew it was with a D. One of the things I saw was that you guys were there are lots of signs up about this road. Tell us about this road and why the community doesn't want this road.
So the Mid-States Corridor. Yes. The Mid-States Corridor is a proposed new terrain. I believe they call it a superhighway. They don't want to call it an interstate.
What's the difference?
An interstate has grade level on and off ramp. So the superhighway would have J turns, which are like the U turns.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have studied this a lot.
I'm learning so much talking to you today. I just want you to know that.
Well, the Mid-States Corridor, I have also had to learn quite a bit about because it is a very hot topic. It would be a new terrain highway from Spencer County all the way up from I-64 to connect I-64 to I-69 in Martin County, which is kind of the Crane area. So it is going to take a lot of family farms. It is going to take a lot of very productive farm ground. It is going to take a lot of homes. And it is going to cost over $3 billion before there has been any cost factored in for land and home acquisition.
Wow.
So the big selling point for this by Governor Mike Braun, whose hometown is Jasper and whose company, his logistics trucking company, is based in Jasper, Indiana.
Oh.
Yes.
The same guy that has the heliport?
The helipad, yes.
Yeah,
that's
the helipad.
him.
Oh,
that is him.
So he has a helipad to take a helicopter from Indianapolis to Jasper, and he has a trucking company, and he is the main proponent for this thing for his trucking company. Got it already.
Yes.
Already. Keep talking.
So this is kind of his pet project. He would really like to have this happen because it will save estimated 7 minutes from Jasper to Indianapolis.
7 whole minutes?
7 whole minutes.
So you are going to take people's farms, tear up the land, spend $3 billion for 7 minutes?
Yes. But what they don't talk about is the fact that if you are commuting locally through these J-turns, because it will dead end roads. So say you're wanting to get across this this mid-states corridor to get to the other side of town. You're going to have to, go up and go to the J-turn and then go back down. You're going to have to make this big U-turn to get there. It's actually going to add about 12 minutes one way in your daily commute. So while it's saving Mike Braun's company 7 minutes a day, and when I guess you have multiple trucks, that adds up, but it's actually going to add to the locals' commute times. It is going to dead end a ton of roads and communities like Otwell and in St. Henry, which makes, of course, emergency services. That's a concern. I spoke with a woman in not Otwell, Hayesville, whenever I was knocking doors, and her first question to me was, how do you feel about the Mid-States corridor? And I said, I am opposed to the Mid-States corridor. And we got to talking, and she said, we have been in this house since the early 60s. And she said, it will come right through my house. And it's a beautiful home. You can tell that they have
loved on it.
Yes, they love their home. It's a beautiful home. And, talking to so many people that it's going to take our farm, it's going to take our home. There was one family that was actually at the state house and given a plaque from state government about, I believe, the family farm has been there for 200 years. And a few days later, they got a letter in the mail saying that they were being sued because they wouldn't give them access to come and survey their ground for the Mid-States corridor to come through it.
Wait. Oh, girl. So you're going to sue me to survey my land for a project that hasn't been approved yet?
Yeah. And that is what I have learned from this. If you have never spoken with anyone or attended any of the Property Rights Alliance meetings down in Jasper, you really need to come down, because I think you would be really fired up.
I'm fired up now just listening to you tell me.
This is a group of citizens, and it's bipartisan,
right?
Because again, nobody's coming and knocking on your door and saying, who did you vote for? That's going to make the decision of whether or not we steamroll your house. And so this is a very bipartisan group, and the work that they have done to get this project stopped. The Mid-States corridor is the reason that the amendment was put into the Bears Stadium bill about any project over $250 million in a county has to go before the budgetary committee.
At the state?
Yes.
Interesting, where they have a supermajority.
And that was state senators who were not happy with Mike Braun over the redistricting attempts. These were senators who did not bow the knee. And so that was put in there as these property rights amendment people, they have been up at the state house and they've been making the phone calls on both sides of the aisle, and they have really managed to get some great work done. So if you are a grassroots project or a group of people that is trying to stop a project that you don't want to see come through, this is the blueprint. These are the people.
Okay, because I don't need to down there because we tried to not have the Martindale Brightwood data center, but unfortunately, I like to name it. My Democratic counselor was excited about this project and voted for it, and then mocked the citizens who didn't want it. Oh yeah,
that was him.
Yeah, it's my councilman, like the guy that represents me, and it's like I normally stay neutral in primaries, but I'm looking. I'm looking for some, because that you ignored us, and so I would love to pick your brain more on that. Or once this election is over and you've won, you'll be in Indianapolis a little bit more. I would love to maybe set up some time so we could maybe get a group of folks together so you could talk about how you were successful, because we They're coming. They're coming to take property. They're coming to really displace people. And I just don't understand how you put these projects. And I understand progress is important when it comes to commerce and all these things. But I mean, my God, the interstate highway already chopped up so many communities. Why do we have to keep doing this? Like, people put down roots. So I thank you for sharing that. And the other thing I'm curious about, where are y'all in the process of this mid-state corridor? Are they still trying to push it through? I mean, what's happening? And this is as of the recording, so
yeah. So as of right now, there has been no construction started.
Oh, good.
And we do know that once, if even an inch of concrete is laid, then it's done. Okay. And so that's what they're making sure doesn't happen. The regional, the RDA down here, the Regional Development Alliance, the county has chosen to pull out from. And so they are trying to, because the only project that the local RDA down here has focused on is the Mid-States Corridor. So they're working to try and get as many of the towns pulled out from that as they can. Okay. They have had success with getting the county to withdraw, but there are still some towns and stuff in there. And then there has been calls from State Senate to come down and actually do a pretty thorough investigation into what's going on with it. Just recently, I think as early as late last week.
So that would be middle part of June. You were able to do that. And have you been able to connect the dots? I don't know where your Republican representative sits on this issue, but have you been able to connect the dots between, because you were a preschool teacher,
So there is no incumbent in my race. Oh, Shane Lindauer I think he knew that it might be a little bit harder run this year because there are some unlikable things that have been passed in the last couple of years. So he is not running again, and that is pure speculation. So he didn't call me to tell me why he's not running.
You weren't on his speed dial?
I was not on his speed dial. My opponent on the Republican side, she will not take a stance on this issue or any others. That is how the Property Rights Group, and I cannot take any credit for the work that the Property Rights Alliance is doing. They have been doing this for far longer than I have been involved. They are a well-oiled machine. They have a whole interactive thing where you can see exactly how it's all connected. The increase in German American stocks, whenever this project was approved, and all of these things. So it is very much a follow the money kind of thing, because there is, of course, projects like this in Daviess County. Whenever I was younger, it was the I-69 corridor. Yeah. That was talked about. I didn't know that I would ever see it come
to fruition.
Yeah. And, it was going to bring all this economic growth, and, all this industry was going to come here. And there has been one new thing built in the I-69 corridor, and it is a gas station.
Because listen, I have been from Bloomington to Evansville on 69. And if you ain't got a full tank, you're in trouble. And in fact, you need a full tank and an empty bladder.
Yes. Yes, you do. We have gotten one new gas station, and then recently a data center tried to build out there that we were able to get stopped. But what it has done though is that it has really, really decimated our small rural towns. The small town that I grew up in, there is no grocery store. There is not a restaurant. There is not even a Dollar General.
Wow.
Because they pop out, from just random cornfields even. What we have seen it do is really negatively affect those towns. And, the same with you and a lot of people in that group. If this road would actually be of benefit to the community, they would absolutely do it. Yeah. They would be absolutely happy to do it.
But it sounds like it's just benefiting one person in one business.
Yes.
And he just happens to be the chief guy in the state.
And then to also say that we need this, we have $3 billion to spend on this road when we have just cut and canceled so many, over hundreds of road improvement projects and, maintenance projects. And then you want to put tolls on our interstates because we can't afford to maintain them. Then why, party of fiscal responsibility, would we want to build where does the money for a $3 billion road come from?
Well, it comes from, not funding public education and SB1 and all that other stuff. And I know that, your conversation is so incredibly important and interesting, and I'm just sucked in by what you know. And so one of the things that I'm noticing is, like, you said something, you said, I had to learn this. I wasn't a part of this group. I had to learn this. But it seems to me that's the way you would treat any issue that would come across your desk as a House rep. Yeah. Tell us why. What? Tell us about your personality a little bit. That says, "Listen, what I don't know, I need to learn." What is that? That intellectual curiosity. That's a thing. I love to learn. I love to read. That's always been who I am. And I'm a firm believer of you don't know what you don't know. And anyone who says immediately, I can do this better, or I know better, I just don't, that's just never been my personality. I want to listen. I think that the people that are most directly involved and affected by a project tend to be the ones with the best solutions. Someone who, somebody who has lived their entire life in downtown Indianapolis, or even, downtown Evansville, the logistics of that is different than living in an area like ours. So I think that you have to go out and you have to talk to the people. I just spent Monday evening with a group of concerned citizens in Holland, Indiana, to learn more about the solar project and the battery energy storage systems that are going on in their area, and to hear from them. We spent a Saturday driving around and viewing the sites, reaching out. That has been my personality, has always been community building and learning what I don't know, because I don't know everything. I like to joke that I do. And I tell my husband all the time, gosh, I've never been wrong about anything ever. But I also say that tongue in cheek because I don't know everything. And I think that too many times decisions are being made without really understanding what we're doing. I was just in Pike County for a commissioner's meeting about data centers a couple weeks ago, and hearing them say, well, we're not for or against data centers, when their economic development side is out actively pursuing data centers to come to their area. And in 2025, they signed a resolution, the county commissioners, that they were in favor of data centers coming to their area, but then saying, well, in 2025, nobody was really talking about data centers, so we didn't really know, have all the information. Well, then why did you sign it? Right. Like, duh.
Why? Duh. I'm not putting my name on anything that
doesn't
I don't know, that I haven't researched, that I haven't taken 5 minutes to Google.
Wow.
So, before we went to the Property Rights Alliance meeting, we sat down, we actually got on a pro Mid-States corridor site, and I was like, you lost me at $3 billion.
Exactly.
So I think that that's the bare minimum that someone as a candidate or as an elected official should be doing, is researching the things that are happening in their communities and that people are concerned about.
Yeah. So like I said, this conversation is amazing. And I know that as Democrats, we are pretty much 70% in alignment on a lot of the issues. But I've got to ask, is there something that you really wanted to share with us? Because I'll take you down a road you weren't even thinking you was going to go down, right? But is there something that you want to share with the people that I didn't ask you about because you think it's important as it relates to your campaign?
I think the biggest thing that maybe we didn't talk about, but that I am seeing, because I am in one of the reddest districts. This has not been held by a Democrat since our 8th district chair, Dave Crooks, held it.
Wow.
I don't believe it's ever been held by a woman. and
Let's
it
just
will be
change
held.
that.
It will be held by a woman in November
Okay.
because it is I call it a double lady race. It is two women running against each other, which I think is an exciting
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but I
there's
think
no misogyny to get in the way.
no, we have leveled the playing field.
Yes.
We have leveled the playing field. Not that I didn't try to get my husband to run for this seat before I decided to, because I do know the game and I am willing to play it if we have to.
Before you go to your points, I love that you said that because I say the same thing, especially when it comes to race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Indiana's own Dana Black, it goes over really well in urban and suburban Indiana, but there are places in Indiana I just can't go and have the same impact. And so if you know that, it's nothing to be offended about. It's okay, I see that this is an issue. How do I fix it so that I can get my message down there? So thank you for saying that.
I just think we have to be real and honest about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway,
we have to.
Yeah.
But what I am seeing across the district from so many people that we talk to, because, we're knocking doors and we're at events, not just shaking hands and not just at fundraising events. Like we are at events where we can have real conversations with people. And what I am seeing across my district is that people don't want to be divided. People want to talk about the things that really affect them. I think that a lot of people on both sides of the aisle are over the divisiveness. They're over the nastiness. And when you sit down and talk with them, the majority of stuff that's really important, we agree on. We talked with a gentleman that by the time it was done, we kind of joked, and I told him, I said, you're kind of starting to sound like a Democrat.
Uh-oh.
And, and he laughed because, we did, we were talking about gun control, and I was like, listen, I'm not here to take anybody's guns. I am a gun owner. And he was like, well, I think that we should just make sure that people are trying to use them safely and that we have them locked up. And, I was like, that all sounds very very common sense, gun regulation. And he was concerned about homelessness. He works with a mission group, and he was like, in Kentucky, they've rented up some of these homeless camps and they took people to jail. And I was like, well, are you aware of, what Mike Braun has just signed into law, criminalizing homelessness and, all of this? And he was like, well, we shouldn't be doing that. Like we should be working with people and helping them. And and I looked at him and I was like, I agree.
Yeah.
These things that are important to you are also important to me. And I think that so many people think that there's this, straight ticket voting has got to change. And I am hearing from so many Republicans that are saying, I can't do that anymore because that is what has gotten me here. That is why the Mid-States Corridor is knocking on my door. Because I thought that I had elected the right people and I made the wrong choice. Or, there are so many people who are like, I didn't even know who to contact with my concern about a data center coming into our area. But now people are really starting to wake up, and it's just a vibe and a feeling that I don't know that I can fully explain unless you're in the room.
Yeah.
It's just very much a vibe, but I just feel like we are watching people wake up in very real time about, one, maybe how little control they've had or been willing to give over to other people that didn't have their best interests at heart. And I'm starting to see people say, you know what, there's nobody running for this office and I'm going to run. Or these people have went unopposed for way too long. Or, how can I get involved? I can run for state delegate. That's a very low, commitment thing though, that I can do to be involved to try and make some change. So that is one thing that I don't think we touched on that I really think is important, because it gives me a lot of hope, because that is not just a feeling, but it's something that we're building.
I love that, because not only did you toss in a little bit of what you're seeing as a candidate, you tossed in a little bit what you see as a party chair, and you just kind of blended that together. And, you know, because I changed the format on how I do Turn Left, I would have never been able to get as many of the candidates that I'm talking to now. And a lot of them have told me, well, there was nobody running, and I've never done this before. Heck, I might even know what I'm doing. And their passion and their heart. That's why I do the trainings, Tiffanie, because it's like, okay, if you are going to put your name on the ballot, let me help you do this right. Yep. I'm not waiting on anybody to give me permission to train people. No. Are you kidding me? Don't nobody talk more than me. So, you know, no. Tiffanie, go ahead.
And I will tell you, if as a candidate, you are not taking advantage of those kinds of trainings and you're not out looking for them and you're not out doing them, you are missing out.
Yeah. Tiffanie, you are fantastic. You are definitely an educator. You may not be a teacher right now, but you are definitely an educator, because you had me glued to everything that you were saying, because I was learning so much from you. Tiffanie Arthur, running for State House District 63. Tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me at www.tiffanyarthur.com. That is my website. It is TIFFANIE. Don't let your phone autocorrect. And you can find me, Tiffanie Arthur, for State House 63 on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So,
well, congratulations. It's obvious that you are prepared to run and win this election. So I applaud you. I tip my hat to you. And thank you so much for stepping up to not only be a candidate, but to lead your party, your county party, through this process and into the future. So you are flat out awesome. You have all the respect in the world from me. And whenever you need my help, just hit me up so I can come down, and we can, if we have to do it over Zoom, we can do it over the Zoom, or I can drive down. It does not matter to me. The training is so important. We can make it happen.
Perfect. We would love that.
Indiana's own Dana Black. Now, one thing, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect candidate, right? I mean, she's as perfect as you're going to get. But you know what she didn't do? She didn't ask you to click on her donate link. And I'm going to do that, right? There is no way that someone who has to travel across multiple counties can do that without gas in their vehicle. And because, you know, she talked about the strait, shut down, it's causing problems. That means your gas prices have gone up. So listen, guys, here's a common sense candidate who is not just a candidate, but is also leading her party. So she understands the frustrations of what she sees as trying to recruit volunteers to help out. So click on her link, her website, sign up to be a volunteer, right? So click her donate link, become a $5 or $10 recurring donor. If you're not going to donate to her, donate to the Davies County Party. Right? There's ways for you guys to get involved, and nothing happens without your help. She's one person, and her hubby loves her enough to be like, all right, I rock with you. Let's do this. But she needs more than that. Okay? Every candidate needs more than that. So go to her website, click her donate link. That's right there. Surely you guys were moved to give her some money. Go and donate to her campaign so that she can be as successful as she possibly can. Y'all, this is fantastic. I am loving the time that I'm spending with all these amazing candidates. Indiana's own Dana Black. We are bringing you Turn Left. I'm up to almost dropping 2 to 3 episodes a week. Yes, that's how many shows I got in the can, right? Just ready to go. So, Indiana's own Dana Black, thank you so much for tuning in. Learn about the candidates, learn how you can help, and I will holler at you next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.